Congratulations, you're getting paid. And now you need to complete the Form W-8BEN-E to send to the person who's paying you so that they actually pay you. And I'm going to show you right now how to complete that. And stay to the end because I'm going to tell you some other stuff that's very important to know about this form and getting paid from U.S. companies. I don't want you to have taxes withheld or to be paying unnecessary taxes in the U.S. And that's really what I do and what I help my clients with. So let me share my screen and get to this form. This is Form W-8BEN-E. And before we start it, let's make sure it's the right form. Because if you're a U.S. person, you should be completing Form W-9. I have a video about Form W-9 link there. You can click that, okay? It's very easy, but if you're a U.S. person, that means you're paying U.S. taxes, you're a resident or have a U.S. corporation, or maybe a partnership, then click this button. If you're a foreign individual, which is mean you are Fred Smith, the person, and you're operating either in your own name or you have a U.S. LLC and you're operating like that, you should complete a W-8BEN. And I have a video for that right here. So click that video if you are Fred Smith, the person, and you should be completing Form W-8BEN. So I'll show you how to complete that in this video right here. If you're still here, that means you are a foreign corporation, a corporation or corporate equivalent outside of the U.S., generally who's getting paid by a U.S. company. That's why they're requesting this form. If you are a foreign corporation that owns a U.S. LLC, you would also be completing this form. So let's go through it. We're going to go through. Fred Smith is my favorite Canadian example here, and he owns a company that's going to be called Smith Enterprises Ltd. The beneficial owner here is going to be Smith Enterprises Ltd. This is a Canadian corporation in this example. No, let's call it a Mexican corporation. Let's be more fun with this. I have a lot of Canadian clients who live in Mexico. They love it. A Mexican corporation. So this line here, line 3, name of disregarded entity receiving the payment, that it would be if you have an LLC that that's owned by Smith Enterprises. So if you have Smith Enterprises LLC in U.S. bank accounts and you're getting paid into your U.S. accounts, that would be the disregarded entity that you put here. So for almost all of my clients and for almost all the people I've ever worked with, it's the Chapter 3 status, the entity type is going to be a corporation. A lot of this form is set up for foreign banking and a lot of crazy stuff. International organizations, estates, trusts, simple trusts, partnerships, foreign governments. It's generally going to just be a corporation, okay? Now we have box 5, which is an insane amount of stuff. But again, almost every time I've completed this form, we've done it in active NFFE, non-financial foreign entity. So it's just an active business. If it's a passive business, you click this one. If it's active, you click this one. And for here, active NFFE, you complete part XXV. And let's just do that really quick. You scroll to the very end, part XXV is just checking a box. So that means I certify that the entity is foreign and not a bank, not a financial institution. Less than 50% of the income is passive and less than 50% of the assets make passive income. So it's generally not going to be a passive. If it's passive, this is the box XXVI. Okay? So I just jumped to that because a lot of this stuff doesn't apply. Only it really applies is the first and second page. So we just completed box 5. Now box 6, we're going to put the address. 1 Mexico Ave, Mexico, El Distrito, Mexico City, MX. Fine. Mailing address, if different, your mailing address if it's different. Now we're going to go to the identification of the beneficial owner. This is confusing for a lot of people. If you scroll up here to line 1, identification of beneficial owner in part 1. We list it there. Now we have part 1 again, continued. What's the U.S. tax ID of the foreign corporation? If you don't have one, then don't enter one. If you're not having taxes withheld, which you generally shouldn't be, then you don't need to enter it. So it's if required. If it's not required, N/A. If you have an EIN number for your foreign corporation, then enter it. GIIN is generally just for banks. And I'm going to give you a little secret here. So if you look at the instructions, you can go down literally to the line-by-line items and you can see what it says about it. It's really quite boring. Line 3, if you're a disregarded entity, enter the name you associated in the GIN. So you can go through all of it. if you've done this before and I'm doing something, I'm saying something wrong, or you don't agree, or you think I'm doing something stupid, comment below, and I'd love to address that. I'm here to help, right? Foreign TIN, there would be a foreign tax ID for this Mexican company. Actually, this is the number. If you're not legally required to have one, then you could check that. Reference number, generally, again, not going to comply. Note, please complete remainder of the form, including signing the Part 30. So, disregarded entity of branch. So, complete only if a disregarded entity with a GIN or branch of a foreign financial institution in a country other than resident. So, this wouldn't apply for almost anyone. If it applies to you, you shouldn't be doing this yourself. You should be calling someone like me to figure it out with you. This may apply. Now, this is something I want to touch on. Claim of tax treaty benefits. So in Mexico, we have a comprehensive tax treaty between Mexico and the US. If you are having taxes withheld on your payments, then we should consider looking into this. If you're not having taxes withheld, you can leave it blank. So if you have a company paying you for a web development services in the US, the contract is for $15,000 a month. They pay you $15,000 a month. Then you don't ever need to complete this because they're not withholding taxes. This is really important if they're withholding taxes. And I always tell my clients before they send this in, before they get paid, confirm the intention of the company paying you to see if they intend to withhold taxes. Because if they don't, then again, we don't have to complete this because it's a complicated back and forth, but you need to basically certify that the payments are subject to the treaty and subject to a lower withholding rate because the standard rate is 30%. And obviously, we want you to not be paying taxes. And I'll talk a little bit more about that after we're done. But to be honest with you, this is kind of the end of the form. People get intimidated by the form, but most of this doesn't comply. Certified, compliant, non-registered local bank, certified for financial entity, deemed compliant sponsored investment vehicle, owner documented financial entity. Like none of this really applies. Exempt retirement plans, international organization is a complicated type of organization as defined in this. You can Google search this and look at the Internal Revenue Code if you really love this stuff. Exempt retirement plans, benefit owners, like none of this applies. 501c3 is a nonprofit, and this is a different type of nonprofit. And none of this is going to apply. After we checked our box for active NFFE, we are going to sign it and send it into the company that's paying you. So that's the form. The form's not too crazy, but I want to tell you that if your foreign corporation is not physically doing business in the U.S., if it's not traveling, it doesn't sending representatives traveling into the U.S. doing work, and it doesn't have offices in the U.S., then generally this foreign entity won't have to file or pay taxes in the U.S. If you do a lot of business and you do have some activities in the U.S., you might want to file a protective return, Form 1120-F. I don't know if I have videos about that, but I can make them. Comment if you guys want to see that video. But generally, you shouldn't have to pay taxes. So if you're getting paid by a U.S. company, that's amazing. Congrats. You might have to complete this form. I hope this video was helpful. And I have another video that you should click next that explains more about why you wouldn't have to pay income taxes on your sales and gains and money you make from U.S. clients if you don't have a U.S. trader business. Okay? So I hope that's useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.